Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good Monday afternoon. First Alert Meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you today at our First Alert desk. We are going to be talking about wildfire smoke. If you haven't been outside yet, then you may not know that it's a little bit hazy outside. So we'll be showing you some cameras here locally and across the state, and we'll also be tracking when that smoke will leave. So that's kind of the big headline here as we get this brand new week started. We are also going to be talking about, though, some heat. We also are going to be looking at some storms as we get into the middle of this week. So there's quite a few moving pieces to our forecast, and we're going to be talking about all of that here in the 2 o'clock hour. So of course, like always, we're going to be hanging out here at 2 o'clock. You can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, WNEM.com on that live stream tab, also at the TV5 News app, and then Roku Fire Stick. As long as you have those TV5 apps, you can go and just hop into the app and watch us there. We're also on Apple and Android TV. So there's a lot of places to connect with us as we go throughout our 2 o'clock afternoon hangout. So let's dive right into our forecast, where we do have the conditions where it is just hazy. You can really see it here on our camera across US 10. It's just kind of murky out across the distance, and the skies, they're not that bright blue color that we typically see. So we would really like to see a lot of that smoke kind of move its way out, but that's just kind of what we have to work with for today and tomorrow. I'm also going to bring up a couple of cameras here, and we can go on a little bit of a tour. Coming up will be our Vehicle CD Harley-Davidson camera, and you can really kind of see it as we look towards the south. It's just really hazy right there along the tree line, and so we are finding that it's not too bad up front, but we are going to find that it still is going to be smoky here for much of the afternoon and going into the evening. We'll also take our next stop here in Mount Pleasant, and it just kind of looks really bright in the sky. So the camera and the smoke kind of getting a lot of that reflection back. So it looks extremely bright as we're looking a little bit closer towards Mission. And that's going to continue to be the case for us as we go into the afternoon. So it was nice to kind of have a couple weeks there where we didn't have the wildfire smoke, but it is back and it is fairly thick at times. That's why we do have the air quality alerts. We'll talk about those in a second. But our camera here in Houghton Lake, it's kind of positioned down so it's hard to see across the water, but you can still kind of see that it is a little bit hazy out there. Our next camera is going to be in downtown Flint. So we have, of course, a lot of buildings on this one, but as you look down the street, you can kind of see that we have those murky skies there. So it's just going to kind of going to be milky overhead. If you're going to be doing the evening commute, you're checking in with us before you taking a quick break at work. You may just want to run and have the air circulating over and over again in the car rather than kind of bringing in that fresh air, because we just have the wildfire smoke that's going to be in play. Here's a live look in Birch Run where we have the smoky conditions. So it is definitely a little bit thick. We had a little bit of wildfire smoke last week, but that wasn't nearly as strong. But I wanted to, again, kind of show our camera here across US 10 as it's just so kind of smoky outside. Not nearly as bad as what we had a couple of years ago. But the wildfires are still active in Canada, and we also have wildfires that are active off towards our west. So we actually have our flow of our smoke that's going to be coming from this direction. You can kind of see that we have those little jet streaks that are coming through. So that's kind of signaling where we're pulling that smoke. So we're able to pull this here from the southwest and also from the smoke here in Canada. So that's just kind of bringing that in. And you can kind of see it takes a little bit of a dive, and that's why we're dealing with the wildfire smoke now. And then it looks like it is going to kind of pivot up and out. So maybe you have some family into the eastern portion of the country. It looks like they might be able to miss it here for a little bit, but we'll be watching to see as that jet stream tries to change. Our air quality index where we're currently sitting is in that moderate, but we are a little bit leery that we might get close to that orange, which is unhealthy for some. But when we're in the moderate, mainly a small number, usually our more sensitive population is going to start to notice some health concerns, some health impacts. And even if you're not necessarily sensitive, you're probably, if you spend a lot of time outside, going to notice that your sinuses just don't feel good, because it kind of works the same way as pollen. In the spring, when we have that pollen in the air, you breathe it in, and then your nose goes, wait, this shouldn't be here. And then it starts to go through the whole spell with the runny nose, the itchy eyes, because it's just trying to get all of those allergens kind of out of your body. And smoke is the same way. Your sinuses are going to say, hey, this shouldn't be here. And that's why you might find that you kind of feel the same way that you do when you're dealing with spring allergies. So it's kind of a very similar concept, just a different element or particle that you're having to deal with in your sinus cavity. So that's kind of the concerns. Of course, like always, if the wildfire smoke is going to be a big problem for you, make sure you're checking in with your doctor, taking care of yourself, seek medical treatment when you need it. And that's why we do have the air quality alerts to kind of signal that we are going to be having impacts from the wildfire smoke. It's not only going to be staying higher up in the atmosphere in a loft, but it is going to be coming down and towards the surface level. So it's not just for us here in mid-Michigan, but everybody across the state is going to be under these alerts. And we actually had these alerts yesterday in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So it is time that, of course, they're towards our west, keeping our eyes, of course, upstream to see what's headed our way. We are finding that the smoke is here, and that's what's causing these alerts to be in. And actually, the National Weather Service out of Detroit, and they have already gone ahead and issued the alerts for Tuesday. So our counties into the Thumb, the Tri-Cities, and along I-69, we already have that air quality alert in place for tomorrow. So that's why we are going to be first alerting you to the wildfire smoke here for the first half of the week. Hopefully, as we get closer towards Wednesday, we can clear it out a little bit. I actually am going to kind of step you through here with our near surface smoke. This is just kind of a model run with the data. It looks to be a little bit thinner here for the afternoon, but you can still see quite a bit of smoke is on the west side of the state. So that is going to try to move across, and we will have some of that overnight. So I'm going to set the clock here at around 6 o'clock. Maybe you're getting up before work, going for a run outside, or just doing some outdoor exercising pretty early in the morning before the heat comes in. You are going to have to work with some wildfire smoke still in the morning. It's not something that's necessarily even going to thin out as we go overnight. So just be prepared that it is still going to be in that low to moderate zone as we go throughout our Tuesday. That's why they do still have those air quality impacts. Good news is going into the evening is that we do see that it thins out a little bit. And our airflow is just right as we go into Wednesday to where we see a lot of that smoke finally starting to clear itself out. So it is still going to be today and tomorrow. You have to work with the smoke. It might be a good time, though, that you can catch a pretty good sunrise sunset photo. Of course, we have the QR code here. If you go and scan that, you can submit any weather photos, even those sunset photos, through the weather app. It'll be there on the front page. So with the wildfire smoke, you have the particles that are in the air, and that is going to allow for, as that light is really long, we see more red. So the sunset is going to be a little bit more vivid. You might kind of have that real glow to it. So it should be some nice weather. If you do want to get outside, of course, take care of yourself if that wildfire smoke is a little bit of an issue. As we look at some of the forecasts, we do anticipate the possibility of our air quality getting closer towards that orange, which is unhealthy for some. So we would break that 100 mark. So far, we've just been in the moderate zone, but we may find that we do jump into the orange, which we have experienced that earlier in the summer, but we're hoping that we can kind of stay out of there. Of course, with this smoke, it comes in and it can never leave fast enough. So hopefully we can get that going and kind of out of the area here soon. So as we talk about wildfire smoke, we had talked earlier about some of the ways that you can take care of yourself and just take some precautions as we go throughout the season. So we are going to be talking about what some of the medical experts say, and we are going to turn it over to some of our previous stories to make sure that you know and have that reminder on what to do.
Be stinging your eyes. That smoke from the Canadian wildfires is putting those with heart or lung disease, older adults, children, and pregnant women at risk.
TV5's James Felton spoke to a medical expert on how to stay safe when the smoke blankets our area. James?
Even if you don't have a chronic condition, it's important to know that wildfire smoke can make anyone sick.
The most important thing is to avoid the smoke as much as you can.
Jason Liu is a pulmonary and critical care physician for Covenant Healthcare. He tells us we should all pay attention to the air quality right now. Wildfire smoke is in the area, putting some of us in more danger than others.
Patients with heart conditions, patients with chronic lung conditions such as asthma, COPD, pregnant patients, teens, and also children. Those patients are at higher risk than the general population.
And even if you're not venturing outside, there are precautions you should take indoors.
To make sure that their windows are closed, their doors are closed. I also highly recommend patients to have an air filter in their house too.
Lou tells us this wildfire smoke is something we should all take seriously.
Those toxins could really affect your lungs. They could cause your airway to close up, And for some patients, these toxins could be so bad to the point that they'll have to go to the emergency room.
Lou advises those with chronic conditions to wear N95 masks if they go outside. The rest of us should keep a mask handy just in case. Lou says the less time we spend outdoors when smoke is in the air, the better.
If you just need to go outside for a short period of time, I think that should be okay. But especially if you're going to go outside and do activities in the outside, prolonged exposure is definitely going to put you at risk of developing respiratory issues.
To check out the air quality where you live, head over to the Thursday Hot Links section on our website, WNEM.com. Back to you.
And that was TV5 James Felton doing that report. So we are going to be looking at conditions that are going to be smoky. So make sure you are taking care of yourselves here as we go through the next couple of days. I also just pulled up a camera across the streets of Mackinac where we can see some smoke. But before we get to that, we're going to take a real quick break and we're going to be right back. Welcome back. First Alert Meteorologist Diane Phillips. We are going to continue to have a highlight on the smoke, but I do want to switch gears and also first alert you to the summer heat that we have. So because it is going to be warm outside, this might be a great time for you to just hang inside in the air conditioning and stay a little bit cooler. Here's that live look across the Mackinac Bridge here. So you can kind of see across the streets. It's just murky there as well. It's always a fun spot to be. You can see a lot of people using the bridge this afternoon. So it's always a fun spot to be, but also if you are on vacation or you know some friends that are up north and they are enjoying a lot of the fun things that we have here in the state during the summer, we all are going to be working through that wildfire smoke. Now our temperatures outside, we are finding those to be into the low to mid 80s. We were even holding on to some 70s at lunchtime, but we are currently at 81 for Bad Axe, Cairo, and Saginaw. We're at 82 in Flint. We still have 84 in Oscoda. That's usually one of our warmer spots because of the terrain. We have 85 in Gladwin. And because of the lake, we have some 70s from Port Sanilac to Harbor Beach to Port Hope and in Tawas City. Of course, that lake always keeping us just a little bit cooler, closer towards the shoreline. Owasso is at 83 and the same for Mount Pleasant. Now, it feels like temperatures because we do have some humidity. Thankfully, it's not really out of bounds. We can kind of look at our dew points and see how those conditions look, but we are finding that those feels like temperatures, thankfully, are not too out of bounds. We are finding that our dew points, though, are still around the lower 60s. So that's where you feel some humidity, but it's not nearly as strong or uncomfortable as what we've had. We had a lot of those sticky conditions recently, so we're happy to kind of see those dew points remain a little bit more comfortable. As we look ahead on our muggy meter, you will find that we do have still some humid and muggy conditions. So dew points into the lower 60s for today and tomorrow. But when we're talking upper 80s, even 90s for tomorrow, and some humidity, it's just going to feel like summer outside and a little bit uncomfortable too. But we do have, with added moisture in from the rain chances Wednesday and Thursday, some higher humidity, dew points to get closer to that 70-degree mark. So it's going to feel uncomfortable while we're waiting for the storms to come in, but you're also going to find that we do have then the chance for heavy downpours because we just have more moisture that we can grab, and that storm is going to be able to pull that down towards the surface. So we, of course, are not only watching the dew points because of how it's going to feel for us outside, but also for any storm potential that we could have. But thankfully, you'll see that line does drop going into Friday, and I actually have a temperature drop by then as well. Take a look at our trends and what we're forecasting for highs here And today, mid to upper 60s, right around 86 degrees. So we still have a few more degrees to go for some of our communities. We have 90 in for tomorrow. So Tuesday is going to be the warmest day of the week. And then we do go still around 88, upper 80s on Wednesday. So it's going to be warm outside for us. And then once that rainfall comes through, you can see it knocks us back to the lower 80s on Thursday and even 70s by Friday. So when we are talking 76 on Friday and low humidity, you are going to feel a difference. That's definitely going to be a little bit of a pause from the 80s and the humidity that we've had a lot here lately. But talking about those rain chances, Monday and Tuesday, still keeping the forecast dry here for the afternoon. So even with the heat, we should have enough dry air in place to where we're not forecasting even any pop-up showers. But we do have a system coming in Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. And we will find that it is scattered as it comes in. So it's not going to be a widespread event. And the other thing is right now the environment doesn't look to be capable of severe weather. So we still will have just some general routine summer thunderstorms. But as far as a severe weather outbreak, the chances of that are looking very low as we go into Wednesday and even into Thursday. And that coverage is also not going to be widespread across our mid-Michigan counties and communities. So some of us are going to be picking up on that rain, and some of us may see some heavier rain compared to others. So with it being a little bit choppy, if you need maybe a little bit of Mother Nature's help to get the grass watered, or maybe just even need to get it cut, you are going to find that we're going to be kind of dodging some rain chances here and there across our communities. But thankfully Friday's dry. That's also when it's a little bit cooler. So we're going to notice a little bit of a different pattern as we look ahead towards the weekend. But I do want to take you through the hour by hour. We will find, if you have some events here tonight, that we are going to be looking at clear skies. So that's going to be the good news for us. Now, as we go overnight, there's still not a lot happening here. We'll have mostly clear conditions, so that's going to allow for that sun to come up just shortly after 6 o'clock. We are actually, I did look, we're losing about a minute and a half of daylight. So it's still kind of where we notice it later in the evening, but we're starting to lose quite a bit of time on both the sunrise and sunset. But we are going to just kind of continue to lose that until we get a little bit later into the year. Now we do have, still going throughout our Tuesday, the sunshine that holds. So not a lot of cloud cover at all, but we'll have the milky, smoky skies. So it's going to look like we have a filter overhead, but that's just going to be the smoke. As we go into Wednesday morning, a handful of clouds show up. You can see trying to hint at some of that moisture coming in our northern counties. But overall, it's throughout the day that we're going to be seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms coming in. So this will be a radar watching day. Again, it's not going to be total green across all of our communities at one time. It is going to be spotty and broken as it comes in. So as I had mentioned, a radar watching day. If you're maybe a commuter, you may find that you have rain for part of your commute, or you're able to drive in and out of it. But we will continue to watch those rain chances as we go into the middle of the week. Again, severe weather not necessarily expected. Now, lows tonight are still going to be pretty mild with us talking about that heat. We will find that temperatures are going to be into the low to mid 60s. Normally, we see our lows right around 61, 62 degrees. So we're about right where we should be at this point into the season. Check out that 7-day forecast. We do have highs, as I had mentioned, tomorrow at 90 degrees, some of that humidity. So I anticipate feels like temperatures to still be into the low to mid 90s. We have a lot of sunshine, and the air quality alerts for today will still hold here through the rest of our Monday, and we do even see those being extended into Tuesday already. I anticipate that the National Weather Service offices in Gaylord and in Grand Rapids are probably going to continue those alerts across all of our communities, but so far we've only heard from the Detroit office that they are going to continue that into Tuesday. Now, Wednesday and Thursday, that's when we have the rain chances coming through, and we have that scattered noted. So it's not going to be widespread rain, but it's still going to be a time to where you want that First Alert Weather app. I'll throw up that QR code. Of course, it's always here on the screen, but here's a bigger version of it. So if you don't have the app, this is a great tool to have on Wednesday, because you're going to be wanting to check radar, especially if you want to run errands and go out and about. You can kind of maybe, if you have some time flexibility, you can stall a little bit, like wait for that storm to pass, and then you can come back and continue on. So we will find Friday is a nice day. We have the partly cloudy skies, temperatures into the mid 70s. I highly recommend, we should be looking at Friday Night Live in downtown Saginaw. That's one of the events going on. We also have the Aranet County Fair. That's underway here this week. So there's going to be a lot of events. So today, tomorrow, with the smoke, keep that in mind if you're going to go out. But Friday looking like a pretty good day. Now, we did have to add some rain chances in for the weekend. You can see we're only at about a 20% on Saturday. And right now that energy looks to be a little bit later, so towards the evening. So So if you have some plans, the earlier in the day right now, the better. But I do want to point out that that's nearly about 6 days away. So there's still some time for some changes, and we may need to make some updates. So don't just lock into this forecast here. Make sure you're watching it through the week, as that forecast I anticipate will need to evolve. And if the timing, if that storm picks up speed, of course, we'll be first alerting you to that. But even a few showers are still going to be possible on Sunday. And this is also when we have temperatures that are going to be into the lower 80s. Now, that is an update at that full 7-day forecast. Of course, you can also find that on the TV5 First Alert weather app. But tomorrow we are going to be right back here at the First Alert desk at 2 o'clock. Again, Facebook, YouTube, WNEM.com at that live stream tab, on the TV5 News app. And then we're on Roku, Fire Stick, Android, and Apple TVs as well. So you can connect with us on your TV at home or even on your cell phone. So there's many ways that you can hang out with us. And again, if you want to replay it, you can head to YouTube and rewatch this later. Or maybe if you want your friends to get an update on the smoke, you can share that YouTube link with them so then they can catch up on the latest, because maybe they're just a little bit busy at 2 o'clock. But I thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And of course, we'll meet you right back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.